Hey you guys, it's Thomasina. Welcome back to my channel. So in light of recent events in New York City, I wanted to come on here and talk about and share my feelings regarding the continuous unrest in New York City, the increase in crime rates, and just the mass amount of violence that we've seen recently. Granted, I will say New York City has always had fairly high crime rates, and that is one thing that people always like to point out whenever someone is talking about how they feel about the violence today. So at some point last month, I posted a TikTok, not thinking anything of it, but even till this day, it's continuing to go viral. So this was the TikTok. And honestly, my intention was not for it to go viral at all. I had just been really stressed that week, and there were so many things in the news about people getting pushed in front of trains, people getting shot at. I had to turn off my Citizen app. I don't get the Citizen app notifications anymore just because it was so overwhelming. And for me, sitting by the water, if there's warm weather, if it's nice out, helps me, kind of come back to that kind of peaceful equilibrium that I like to maintain in my life. And so I made the TikTok, just expressing how I personally deal with the stresses of New York City, and people really related to the TikTok. So some people felt the same way, and then other people came back with crazy comments. Some people made it super political. Some people, obviously their go-to is, if you hate New York City so much, why don't you just move? And nowhere in that post did I say I hated New York City. Like, obviously if you are subscribed to my channel, you know I love it here. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. But sometimes where you live stresses you out, and it happens. And I think even though I posted that TikTok early last month, it is now resurfacing and going viral again in light of yesterday's situation. So just to give a little backstory, a man set off a smoke grenade on the subway and released fire. I think at least 23 people were injured. I know 5 for sure were shot and wounded. And these videos surfaced all over the internet. It happened around 8:30 in the morning on a Tuesday. So prime rush hour, people are just trying to go to work or either coming from work if they work the overnight shift. So it was definitely intentional to cause this disturbance when the transit is usually the most crowded. This is just one of the continuous occurrences of violence, particularly on the subway and platforms. It makes me feel so uneasy, and I often worry about how I will continue to share content on my platform, which usually requires me going out into the city and vlogging my day-to-day life. How can I continue to do that when I am too scared to leave my apartment? When I am too scared to take the subway? Because I can't afford to Uber everywhere. And it's really disheartening that one who has so much love for this city is also super scared of this city. It's tough, right? But instead of me telling you, if you feel this way about New York City, if you're so scared, if you're so on edge, if New York City gives you so much anxiety, move out. Instead of me telling you that, I want to give you guys some ways that I cope with the situation here in New York City, some ways that I keep myself safe, and I hope that you guys will find it beneficial. So just some quick little words of advice or pro tips on how I particularly stay, or I guess how I do my best to stay as safe as I can in New York City, because there's really only so much we can control. Things can happen in a split second, so it's just best to be hyper vigilant, hyper aware, so that it is easier for you to maybe prevent something or get away if something were to go down. Jumping right into it, we're gonna start with how I stay safe in the subway. As you guys, I'm sure, have heard in the media, on the news, there have been an increased number of cases of people getting pushed onto the tracks, of people getting shot in stations, of people getting sexually assaulted and harassed in the station. So taking the subway, for me personally, it's probably been the biggest cause of my anxiety. I think I experience the most anxiety taking the subway these days. And like I said, it's kind of inevitable unless you are super wealthy and can afford to Uber everywhere or taxi everywhere, or unless you don't care that you're overdrafting your account to take these Ubers. Taking the subway and the bus is like inevitable. It's the cheapest way to get around the city. One thing that I think is super important, I know a lot of us love music and we love to drown out the chaos and the different noises you hear in New York City by wearing our headphones and like blasting music. But you cannot hear what is going on if you are blasting music or podcasts or whatever you're listening to in your ear. So I would recommend getting headphones or earbuds that have the hear through feature on them so that you can still listen to your music and like give you some peace of mind or whatever, but also still hear what's happening around you, because like I said, things can happen in a split second and you need to be able to hear what's going on. You need to be able to hear what they're saying over the intercom or like speaker announcements. You need to be able to hear all of that. So either that or just don't wear headphones at all. But I know that headphones definitely contribute greatly to me maintaining my sanity and mental health in New York City. So I definitely understand the need and desire to want to wear headphones. So just make sure you can still hear what's happening around you even when you have those in. As far as standing on the platform, you guys, I am so guilty. When I first moved back to New York City, I was one of the people that were standing at the very edge of the platform. I should have known better because my mom has like drilled it into my head 1,000 times. I don't need to be standing that close to the edge, but I feel like I was just like anxious to get on the subway. When I moved here in 2019, like the pandemic hadn't happened yet, so the subway was usually always crowded, and I wanted to be the first person in so that I could find like a good seat or like get a good standing position or whatever. I always just wanted to be the first one on the subway, so I would always stand really close to the edge, but not anymore. People keep getting pushed on the tracks and I'm not trying to be one of them. I do not stand at the edge anymore. I will usually stand, there are like cinder block type pole, not even cinder blocks, but like poles aligned down the platform. So I'll usually try to stand near one of those, or there are also like sections of seats down the platform. If no one is sitting in the seat, then I will stand. I won't sit on the seat because so many nasty things happen on those seats, but I will sit like next to them just in case. So like if someone were to attempt to push me or something like that, I would have something to grab onto really quickly as opposed to just grabbing onto open air. And I also try to stand near people nowadays. Before I was if I saw that it was like real crowded in one section of the platform, I would try to stand somewhere else so that when the subway did arrive, I wasn't fighting with like 10 million people trying to get on the subway. But now I just try to make sure that I'm around at least like 2 or 3 people who look sane, I guess. It's kind of hard to distinguish that, but you know, come on, like, you know, you can get a kind of like a sense of people. That sounds bad, but like, it is what it is. I just make sure that I'm around at least 2 or 3 other people and not completely solo dolo on the platform, just because you want to have witnesses. Again, there's only so much you can control, but these small little habit changes can make all the difference in the outcome of a situation. I have not yet determined where is the safest place to sit, because I usually sit at the entrance. Like if I'm getting on the subway, I'll probably sit like in one of these 2 seats that are like right by the entry and exit way. That can be both beneficial and harmful, because if you're sitting right at the entrance and someone comes onto the cart and they're crazy, like you are an immediate target because you're right there. But if something crazy is happening on the other side of the cart and you're at an entry exit point, you can easily get off. Usually when disturbed people are getting on a subway cart that I am on, they're usually coming from another cart. They're 9 times out of 10, they're not coming from the platform and getting on the train. 9 times out of 10, they're coming from another cart. So instead of coming from the entry exit points, like the main entry exit points, they're coming from the door that connects the other cart. It's so hard to find the safe point on a subway cart because it is an enclosed space, and if something were to go down while you guys are in the middle of your route and not stopped while you're still in motion, like what can you do? you can go to the next cart, which is why it's great to sit on either further end. But if you're in the middle, it's tougher to get to a safe point if you're in the middle of the cart. So I try to sit on either opposite far end, if that makes sense. Now for just general safety, like if you're out and about on the street, just like walking, doing whatever. I know it's hard in 2022 and everybody is so engulfed in what's happening on their phone and they just want to walk with the head down, but I've seen so many instances of people being followed, people bumping into other people, people walking into situations that they could have avoided had they seen it beforehand because they're walking like this. When you're walking head down, you don't know what the heck is going on around you, because not only can you not see, but a lot of times we're so focused on what's happening on our phone that our ear sensory stops working. We stop hearing what's happening around us because we're so focused on what we're seeing on our phone. Even if you're not wearing headphones, you are not as aware of what you are hearing in like real life. Just get off your phone for freaking 5 minutes until you walk to wherever your destination is and pay attention to what's happening around you. I mean, the city is so beautiful, and even all its chaos and violence and disturbances, if you just look up, you will see like how beautiful the city actually is despite everything that is always going on. I feel like people who are from New York have a specific look on their face. It's kind of like a don't talk to me, don't mess with me, like I don't have the time kind of look on their face, and I have that down pat. I think even before moving back to New York, that was just like my natural like RBF. But people who are often trying to like sell you something on the street or trying to like talk to you on the street or like ask for money, they pay attention to the people whose personalities and appearance seem inviting and open, and they prey on people who look lost, because if you look lost, then they're going to assume that you're not from here and you don't really know what be going down in these streets. So another tip that I would say if you're just like out and about in the city is try your best not to look lost. Even when you get off the subway and you have to try to like figure out which direction you need to walk in, try to do it in a way that's very subtle and doesn't make you look like completely clueless, because people definitely peep that out. They're watching for the next target. They are on the hunt. Walk with purpose, walk as if you know where you're going, walk as if you got some business to take care of. And I only say that because there have been so many times where maybe my Google Maps wasn't working or I couldn't like figure out which direction I wanted to go in, and I really did look so lost, and it was like an automatic invitation for people to come and talk to me. People who I did not want talking to me would come and talk to me. So I think if you can, just try to look like you know what you're doing. And then I guess my last piece of advice, a little bit more practical, carry something on you, whether it's a taser or a switchblade. I know some switchblades are illegal, so just make sure. I'm not sure on which blades are legal to carry around New York and which are not, so definitely look that up on your own. But carry something with you so that if something were to happen, God forbid, you would be able to defend yourself a little bit better. So whether that be mace, pepper spray, taser, switchblade, the little knuckle rings. I know there are so many people on TikTok and social media that are actually selling the defense keychains, so like the safety defense keychains. Super cute. If I had the link to one, I would drop it in the description so you guys could just easily purchase it. But probably Etsy, like a lot of people just create these things from home and then sell them online. Ooh, okay. An honorable mention of a way that I try to be safer in New York City is if I am walking alone at night and it's unavoidable, I'm by myself, I always call someone while I'm walking to my destination. Not only just to have someone there with me, even if it's like virtually or like through the phone, but also people tend not to bother you if they see that you're on the phone. Like there's still a little bit of respect here in the city, but I found that if I'm walking alone at night, not doing anything, phone not in hand or anything, I am more of a target compared to when I'm walking and I'm actively talking on the phone or like on FaceTime so the person can see me. People tend not to bother me in that aspect. Granted, this is just from personal experience. I'm not saying that if you call someone while you're walking at night, no one is going to bother you, because you never know. but I've compared how people interact with me in both instances, and people tend not to bother me when I'm on the phone. So yeah, it's unfortunate that crime rate in New York City continues to be not great, and that the violence we've seen over the past 2 years throughout the pandemic and after, now that the city is open again, it just seems like people were super restless during the time where the city was shut down, and now that the city is open and new people are moving in and it's just super crowded, like, people are getting reckless. And if New York City is a place you want to be, if New York City is a place you want to continue to live, you have to do what you have to do to keep yourself as safe as possible. And if it's not something you're willing to put up with, and if it's something that's significantly impacting your mental health, then the other option is just to leave and pick a new city. But for me personally, New York City is where I need to be right now, not only for my career, but just living out my young 20s. I actually really do enjoy New York despite some of the stressful moments I do have up here. It is life. I'm human. I get stressed sometimes. I get anxiety sometimes. And it be like that. But there are things that I do to help me cope with the things that are happening in New York City, i.e. sitting next to the water, being outside, sitting in the park, people watching. You just have to find what works for you, what helps you cope, and yeah, just try to keep yourself as safe as possible. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you guys can relate to the TikTok that I posted or anything that I mentioned in this video, comment down below. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's comment about it. Let's try to support each other. So with that being said, that concludes this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye! 'Cause I'm not just a pretty girl, I'm more